The starship New Dawn drifted silently through space, its hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. Commander Lee Gina stood on the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the alien ships approach. After months of radio signals back and forth, this was finally happening. First contact with another intelligent species. "They're beautiful," whispered Dr. Kim Hana from beside her. The xenobiologist had spent years dreaming of this moment. Her 7-year-old son Juno pressed his face against the viewport, his eyes wide with wonder. "Look, Iyama, they look like giant crystals," the boy exclaimed, pointing at the approaching vessels. Even at his young age, Juno had shown remarkable intelligence, especially when it came to understanding patterns and languages. That's why Dr. Kim had brought him along. His mind could process new information faster than most adults. Navigation Officer Park Minho called out from his station. "Commander, the lead ship is requesting permission to dock." "Granted," Lee replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Her heart was pounding. Everything they said and did in the next few hours could determine the future of humanity. The docking bay filled with a soft humming sound as the alien ship attached to theirs. Security Chief Choi Dae-ho positioned his men around the bay, their weapons lowered but ready. They had no idea what to expect. The airlock hissed open, and the first alien stepped through. It was tall, maybe 8 feet, with skin that seemed to glow from within like colored glass. Its body was humanoid but graceful, with long limbs and multiple eyes arranged around its head. When it moved, tiny lights flickered beneath its translucent skin. "I am Research Prime Vextal of the Kethmar Collective," the alien said through a translation device hanging around its neck. Its voice was musical, but somehow cold. "We welcome the species known as humans to the greater galaxy." Commander Lee stepped forward and bowed slightly. "I am Commander Lee Gina. We are honored to meet you and grateful for your welcome." More Kethmar entered the docking bay, and Gina noticed how their multiple eyes kept focusing on different things. The walls, the equipment, the humans themselves. They seemed to be studying everything. "Your journey was long," Vextal continued. "We have prepared quarters for your delegation aboard our vessel. There is much we wish to learn about your kind." Dr. Kim Hana squeezed her son's hand. "We're equally eager to learn about yours." But as the Kethmar scientists approached, their attention focused entirely on young Juno. One of them knelt down to the boy's level, its multiple eyes examining him with intense curiosity. "Fascinating," the alien whispered. "Such rapid neural development in one so young. Tell me, small human, how old are you?" Juno looked up at his mother, who nodded encouragingly. "I'm 7 years old," he said in his clear, bright voice. "Are you really from another planet?" The Kethmar's eyes seemed to glow brighter. "Indeed we are. And you, young one, have a most unusual mind. We can sense the rapid formation of new neural pathways as you process our appearance and language patterns." Security Chief Choi stepped closer, his instincts warning him that something felt wrong. The way these aliens looked at the boy reminded him of scientists studying a lab specimen. "Perhaps we should begin with a tour of both ships, Commander," Lee suggested diplomatically. "Cultural exchange works best when we understand each other's environments." "Of course," Vextal agreed, but his eyes never left Juno. "Though I must say, your young one would find our research facilities particularly interesting. We have technologies that could enhance his already remarkable cognitive abilities." Dr. Kim Hana felt a chill run down her spine. "Enhance how?" "Simple. Neural interface procedures. Completely safe, I assure you. We have studied many developing minds across the galaxy. Your son's brain shows patterns we have never encountered. Such adaptability, such rapid learning. He could help us understand the true potential of consciousness itself." The translation device couldn't hide the hunger in the alien's voice. Other Kethmar had now formed a circle around Juno, their multiple eyes focused on him like predators sizing up prey. "That sounds very interesting," Dr. Kim said carefully. "But perhaps we should start with simpler exchanges first." Vexital's head tilted in what might have been confusion or disappointment. "Of course. Forgive our enthusiasm. It is rare to encounter such a perfect subject for our research. The word subject made Security Chief Choi's hand drift toward his weapon. Commander Lee noticed the movement and gave him a subtle warning look. "We should transfer to your ship then," Lee said. "I'm sure you're eager to begin formal diplomatic discussions." As they prepared to board the Kethmar vessel, young Juno tugged on his mother's sleeve. "Yama," he whispered. "Something feels wrong about them. The way they look at me. It's like when doctors look at sick patients." Dr. Kim bent down and hugged her son. "It's okay, Juno, they're just curious about humans, we'll be careful." But as they crossed into the alien ship, none of them noticed the subtle energy field that activated around them, a field designed to block all communications with their home vessel. The Kethmar had been planning this moment for weeks, since they had learned about the remarkable human child whose mind could adapt to new concepts faster than any species they had encountered. Research Prime Vextal smiled as the airlock sealed behind them. Soon, they would have their perfect test subject. 3 days had passed since the human delegation boarded the Kethmar mothership. Dr. Kim Hana woke in her assigned quarters feeling uneasy. Something was wrong. The bed beside hers was empty. Juno's bed had not been slept in. She jumped up and rushed to the door, her heart racing. "Juno!" she called out into the corridor. "Juno! Where are you?" The crystal-like walls of the alien ship seemed to pulse with soft light as she ran through the passages. Other members of the human team were still sleeping. She didn't want to cause panic, but her son was missing. Dr. Kim found Commander Lee in the common area, sipping what the aliens called morning nutrition fluid. "Commander, I can't find Juno. He wasn't in his bed this morning." Lee set down her cup immediately. "Are you sure? Maybe he went exploring?" "He knows better than that. And I'm a light sleeper. I would have heard him leave." Her voice was getting higher with worry. They searched the guest quarters together, checking every room they had access to. Security Chief Choi joined them, his face grim. "The aliens have restricted our movement to this section only. They say it's for our safety, but it feels more like we're prisoners," Lee finished. That's when Research Prime Vextal appeared, gliding smoothly down the corridor, his multiple eyes focused on the worried mother. "Dr. Kim, you seem distressed." "My son is missing," she said, trying to keep her voice calm. "Where is Juno?" "The young one is quite safe," Vextal replied in his musical voice. "He has been selected for our advanced learning program. His mind is so remarkable, we simply had to begin immediate studies." "Studies?" Dr. Kim felt her blood turn cold. "What kind of studies?" "I want to see him right now." "I'm afraid that's not possible. The research requires complete isolation to avoid contamination of results. But I assure you, the child is learning things that will benefit all of humanity." "Commander," Lee stepped forward. "Research Prime, we agreed to cultural exchange, not medical experiments on our people. I demand you return the boy to his mother immediately." Vextal's eyes seemed to dim slightly. "You misunderstand. This is cultural exchange of the highest form. We are sharing our most advanced consciousness research with your species," the child volunteered. "He's 7 years old," Dr. Kim shouted. "He can't volunteer for anything without his parents' permission." "Please, Dr. Kim. Your emotional response is quite fascinating but unnecessary. The procedures are completely safe. We have performed them on developing minds from dozens of species." Security Chief Choi's hand moved to his weapon. "Show us the boy. Now." "That would compromise the research," Vextal said calmly. "Neural development must be monitored in controlled conditions. Any outside influence could damage the data we're collecting." Meanwhile, deep in the restricted sections of the ship, young Juno lay strapped to a biotable that hummed with alien technology. Thin metal probes had been inserted into his skull, and wires connected his head to massive computing devices that surrounded him. The pain was terrible. Every few minutes, energy pulses would shoot through the probes into his brain, making him scream. But worse than the pain was the fear. He couldn't understand why the aliens were hurting him, or why his mother wasn't coming to save him. Fascinating, one of the Kethmar researchers said, studying the readings on his instruments. The child's neural pathways are reorganizing under stress. His brain is actually adapting to our probes in real time. Increase the intensity, ordered another scientist. We need to see how far we can push this adaptation process. Juno's screams echoed through the research chamber as the aliens turned up their machines. Yama! He cried out in Korean. Appa, help me! But his parents couldn't hear him through the ship's thick walls and energy barriers. The Kethmar had designed their research facility to contain all sounds and signals. What they didn't know was that pain and fear this intense from such a young mind was creating something they hadn't expected. Juno's desperate cries for help were somehow reaching beyond the ship, beyond normal space, through quantum fields that the aliens didn't understand. Far away on Earth, in a secret military facility buried deep beneath Seoul, alarm bells began ringing. Lieutenant Yoon-taek stared at his instruments in confusion. Admiral Song, he called to his superior, we're picking up some kind of quantum distress signal. It's coming from deep space, from the direction of the diplomatic mission. Admiral Song Mirai rushed to the console. She was a stern woman who had spent decades preparing for the day when humanity might need to defend itself against hostile aliens. What kind of signal? It's unlike anything we've seen before. But if I didn't know better, I'd say it was a child crying for help. The Admiral's face went pale. She knew about Dr. Kim's son being part of the mission. Can you trace the source? It's definitely coming from alien space. And Admiral, the signal is getting stronger. Whatever's happening to that child, it's getting worse. Admiral Song stood silent for a moment, then walked to a secure communication panel. She entered a code that hadn't been used since the system was built. This is Admiral Song to all Terran defense stations. She spoke into the microphone. Activate Protocol Crimson. This is not a drill. Repeat. Activate Protocol Crimson. Across Earth's solar system, hidden weapons platforms and cloaked warships began powering up. Humanity had spent decades preparing for hostile first contact, while showing the galaxy only their peaceful exploration ships. Now it was time to reveal what humans were really capable of when their children were threatened. Back in the alien research chamber, Juno's screams suddenly took on a different quality. Mixed with his cries of pain was something else, something that sounded almost like a battle cry. The space around Earth's moon suddenly filled with light as massive ships appeared from nowhere. They materialized like ghosts becoming solid, their hulls black as night and covered with weapons that glowed with deadly energy. Admiral Song Mirai stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Iron Fist, watching her hidden fleet assemble. For 50 years, humanity had been building these ships in secret, hiding them in the dark spaces between planets. While they showed the galaxy peaceful exploration vessels, they had been preparing for war. Admiral, all defense stations are reporting ready, said Communications Officer Naji-wan. We have 300 ships online with more coming. And the boy's signal? Still coming through, ma'am. It's stronger now. The quantum field is carrying his pain directly to us. On the main screen, a terrible image appeared. Through the strange quantum connection, they could see young Juno strapped to an alien table. Metal probes stuck into his small head while machines around him beeped and hummed. The boy was screaming. Every person on the bridge felt their hearts fill with rage. This wasn't just any child. This was one of theirs. A human child being tortured by aliens who thought they were weak. Those monsters, whispered Weapons Officer Bae Sunho. His own daughter was about Juno's age. They're killing him. Not for much longer, Admiral Song said, her voice cold as ice. Set course for Kethmar space, maximum speed. Admiral, that will take us deep into alien territory. What about the diplomatic mission? The diplomatic mission ended the moment they put their hands on that child. Now it's time for them to learn what humans really are. The fleet moved through space faster than light, reality bending around them as they used technology the aliens had never seen. Hidden weapons charged with power that could crack planets in half. Back in the Kethmar research facility, something strange was happening to Juno. The pain was still terrible, but something new was growing in his mind. Through the quantum field, connecting him to Earth, he could feel something vast and angry approaching, his people, his family, all of humanity coming to save him. The readings are incredible, one Kethmar scientist said, staring at his instruments. The child's brain activity is off every scale we have. It's like he's connected to something huge. Impossible, said another researcher. No species has that kind of neural network capability. But Juno's eyes suddenly opened, and they were glowing with a soft light. When he spoke, his voice carried a strength that shouldn't have been possible for a 7-year-old. You made a mistake, he said quietly. The aliens around him stepped back in surprise. The boy had been unconscious for hours. You studied us wrong, Juno continued, the light in his eyes growing brighter. You think we're weak because we're peaceful. You think we're prey because we don't fight unless we have to. Research Prime Vextel rushed into the chamber. What's happening? The child should be sedated. The sedatives aren't working anymore, one scientist reported. His body is rejecting everything we give him. Juno turned his glowing eyes toward Vextel. My people are coming, and they're very, very angry. Your people? Vextel laughed. Your small exploration ship? We have an entire fleet protecting this system. Not that ship, Juno said with a smile that was both innocent and terrifying. My real people, the ones you haven't met yet. Suddenly, alarms began screaming throughout the Kethmar mothership. Emergency lights flashed as panicked voices spoke over communication systems. Contact from the defense fleet, came a voice. Unknown. Ships appearing at the edge of our system. Hundreds of them. Vextel's multiple eyes went wide. Impossible. We monitored your technology. You showed us primitive vessels, basic weapons. We showed you what we wanted you to see, Juno said. Humans don't show their teeth until they're ready to bite. And you made us very ready to bite. On screens throughout the ship, the Kethmar could see the approaching human fleet. These weren't the small, peaceful ships they had expected. These were weapons of war, massive and terrible, with energy signatures that made their own technology. Look like toys. Admiral Song to all Kethmar vessels, came a voice over every communication channel. You have taken one of our children. You have tortured him. You have exactly 1 hour to return him unharmed, or we will show you why Earth's young are protected. By the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The image of Admiral Song appeared on every screen, a stern human woman with eyes full of cold fury. Behind her, weapon systems were charging with enough power to destroy worlds. This is impossible, Vextel whispered. Your species is peaceful. You told us you value diplomacy above all else. We do, Juno replied, somehow hearing the conversation through his connection to the fleet. We choose to be peaceful. We choose to be kind. We choose to solve problems with words instead of weapons. But when someone hurts our children, the space around the Kethmar homeworld began to bend and twist as reality-warping weapons came online. The aliens' own defense fleet looked tiny and helpless compared to the human armada. We choose to remind the universe why we became the top predators on our own planet before we ever left it. Through the ship's communication system, they could hear Kethmar defense commanders screaming orders to their fleets. But their weapons bounced harmlessly off the human ship's shields. 59 minutes remaining, Admiral Song's voice announced calmly. Vextel looked at the small human boy who was somehow connected to this massive display of force. What are you? Juno's eyes blazed brighter. We're the species that conquered a world full of predators, survived ice ages and plagues, and reached for the stars. We're the ones who chose to be civilized because we're too dangerous to be anything else. And you just learned what happens when someone threatens our cubs. The human fleet hung in space around the Kethmar homeworld like a pack of wolves surrounding their prey. Admiral Song Mireille watched the purple planet grow larger on her screen, its crystal cities sparkling beneath alien skies. But her eyes were cold as winter ice. Open channels to every frequency on that planet, she ordered. Her face appeared on millions of screens across the Kethmar world. In their crystal towers, in their research centers, in their homes, the aliens looked up to see humanity's true face for the first time. I am Admiral Song Mireille of the Terran Defense Fleet, she announced. You have one of our children. You are torturing him. You have 30 minutes to return him safely, or you will learn why no species in this galaxy should ever threaten a human child. The Kethmar leadership tried to respond through their communication systems. Admiral, surely we can discuss this diplomatically. You lost the right to talk when you put holes in a 7-year-old's head, Song replied, her voice cutting through their words like a blade. 29 minutes. Down in the research facility, panic had taken hold. Kethmar scientists ran back and forth trying to figure out what to do with their young prisoner. But Juno was no longer the helpless victim they thought they had captured. The boy sat up on the bio table, the alien restraints falling away like paper. The metal probes that had been stuck in his skull simply slid out, his wounds healing as they watched. The connection to his people had changed him, made him stronger. You should let me go now, Juno said calmly to the terrified aliens around him. My family is here, and they're not in a good mood. Research Prime Vextal pushed through, the crowd of scientists. This is impossible. How is the child free? The restraints were designed to hold creatures 10 times his size. You don't understand humans yet, Juno replied, standing up on shaking legs. We're not strong because we're big. We're strong because we never give up. And when you hurt one of us, you hurt all of us. Through the facility's windows, they could see the human fleet in the distance. But these ships weren't just floating in space. They were doing things that defied everything the Kethmar knew about physics. Reality itself seemed to bend around the human vessels. What kind of technology is that? One scientist whispered, in fear. The kind we keep hidden until we need it, Juno answered. You wanted to study human nature? Well, here's your lesson. Humans are the species that survived everything our planet could throw at us. Ice ages, volcanoes, plagues, predators, bigger and stronger than us. We survived because we never stopped fighting for our families. On the human flagship, Admiral Song received reports from her strike teams. Elite soldiers in advanced battle armor had already boarded several Kethmar ships, moving through them like deadly shadows. Ma'am, Assault Team Alpha has reached the research facility, reported Captain Lee Wanho over the radio. We can see the target. The boy appears to be free and moving on his own. Confirmed, came another voice. The kid just walked through a locked door like it wasn't even there. The aliens are backing away from him. Admiral Song smiled grimly. The connection between the boy and the human fleet was working both ways. Young Juno was drawing strength from every human ship, every soldier, every person who wanted to protect him. Inside the facility, Juno walked slowly toward the exit, and none of the Kethmar could stop him. When they tried to grab him, their hands passed right through him. When they tried to block his path, he simply walked through the walls. Impossible, Vextal breathed. No organic being can alter their molecular density like that. You're right, Juno said, turning to look at the alien researcher. One human can't do this, but I'm not just one human right now. I'm connected to all of them. Every human who ever protected a child. Every parent who ever fought to keep their family safe. You're not dealing with a 7-year-old boy anymore. You're dealing with the entire human species. The lights in the facility began to flicker as the boy's power grew stronger. Outside, more human ships were arriving every minute, materializing from hidden places throughout the galaxy. The aliens realized with growing horror that the peaceful exploration vessels they had met were just the tiny tip of a massive military force. How many ships do you have? Vextal asked in a whisper. Enough, Juno replied. We've been preparing for hostile contact for decades while showing you only our diplomats and scientists. Every human colony, every space station, every hidden base has been building weapons and ships for the day when someone would threaten us. Through the facility's communication system, Admiral Song's voice echoed again. 15 minutes remaining. I suggest you start running. But the Kethmar had nowhere to run. Human ships surrounded their entire solar system now, weapons charged and ready. The aliens' own defense fleets had surrendered or been destroyed in minutes. Please, Vextal begged, dropping to his knees before the glowing child. We didn't. No. We thought you were just another primitive species. Juno looked down at the alien who had ordered his torture, and for a moment, his young face showed the full fury of his entire species. That, he said quietly, was your first and last mistake. The rescue team moved through the Kethmar research facility like a force of nature. Commander Legina led the way, her diplomatic uniform replaced by advanced battle armor that gleamed with deadly purpose. Behind her came the finest soldiers humanity had ever trained. They found no resistance. The Kethmar scientists cowered in corners, their multiple eyes wide with terror as armored humans swept past them. The aliens who had seemed so confident, when torturing a helpless child, now trembled like leaves in a storm. Juno. Dr. Kim Hana's voice echoed through the corridors as she ran ahead of the soldiers. Juno, where are you? Here, Yama. The voice came from the main research chamber. When the rescue team arrived, they found young Juno standing in the center of the room, glowing with soft light. The alien torture devices around him lay broken and twisted, as if crushed by invisible hands. Dr. Kim Hana rushed to her son and pulled him into her arms, tears streaming down her face. Oh, my baby, what did they do to you? Are you hurt? I'm okay now, Juno whispered, though his small body was shaking. They put things in my head, but the pain is gone. I could feel all of you coming to save me. Dr. Kim Biom, Juno's father, knelt beside them, his hands checking his son for injuries. The small holes where the alien probes had been inserted were already healed, leaving only faint scars. The medical team is standing by, said Chief Medical Officer Dr. Park Suman as she arrived with her equipment. We need to get him to the ship for a full examination. But Juno shook his head. Not yet. They need to see this first. The boy turned toward Research Prime Vextal, who was pressed against the far wall, shaking in terror. The alien who had ordered the torture of a child now faced the consequences of his actions. You wanted to study human nature, Juno said, his young voice carrying the authority of his entire species. You wanted to understand what makes us different from other species. Well, here's your answer. Through the facility's windows, the massive human fleet was visible in all its terrible glory. Hundreds of ships hung in space like sleeping dragons, their weapons pointed at every major city on the Kethmar homeworld. We're different because we choose to be good, Juno continued. We could have conquered this galaxy long ago. We have the weapons. We have the technology. But we chose to explore peacefully instead. We chose to make friends instead of slaves. Admiral Song Mirai's voice came over the facility's communication system. Kethmar leadership. You have 5 minutes to surrender unconditionally. Your bio-research programs will be shut down. Your scientists will face trial for crimes against children. You will submit to human oversight for any future scientific work. Vextal looked around desperately. Please, we can negotiate. We can offer you technology, resources, anything you want. We don't want your technology, Commander Legina said coldly. We already have better. What we want is justice, and to make sure this never happens again, added Security Chief Choi Deho, his weapon trained on the alien researcher. The surrender came within minutes. Across the Kethmar homeworld, alien leaders broadcast their submission to humanity. Their crystal cities went dark as they powered down their defenses and weapon systems. Later, aboard the medical bay of the New Dawn, young Juno lay on a soft bed while advanced human technology healed the last traces of his ordeal. His parents sat beside him, holding his hands, while doctors worked to repair the damage. The neural pathways are completely restored, Dr. Park, Suman reported. No permanent damage to his brain function. He's going to be fine. Admiral Song Mirai entered the medical bay, her battle armor replaced by a simple uniform. She looked tired but satisfied. The woman who commanded humanity's most powerful fleet knelt beside Juno's bed like a grandmother visiting her grandchild. How are you feeling, little warrior? She asked gently. Better, Juno replied with a small smile. Admiral, are we really that scary to other aliens? Song chuckled and ruffled his hair. Only when someone threatens our family. The rest of the time, we're the friendliest species in the galaxy. What happens now? Dr. Kim Hana asked. Now the galaxy learns a new rule, Admiral Song replied. Humanity will trade fairly, explore peacefully, and even forgive most mistakes. But harm our children. She gestured toward the viewport where the human fleet was still visible. And they'll discover why we became the top predators on Earth before we ever left our world. Commander Lee Gina joined them with a datapad containing the surrender terms. The Kethmar have agreed to everything: full reparations, dismantling of their research programs, and they're turning over all the scientists involved for trial. Good, Dr. Kim Byom said, his voice still shaking with anger. They need to face justice for what they did. Young Juno looked out at the stars through the viewport. Other alien ships were keeping their distance now, watching the human fleet, with newfound respect and fear. Will other aliens try to hurt human kids? He asked. Admiral Song followed his gaze to the vast cosmos beyond. Not after today. Today, the galaxy learned that humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our technology. It's our absolute commitment to protecting our young. As news of the incident spread through space, alien civilizations across the galaxy received the same message. Humans were peaceful by choice, not by weakness. Their children were protected by the most dangerous species in the known universe. The age of humanity had begun, built not on conquest, but on the simple truth that no one should ever threaten a human child.